Hi there, and welcome to Unfiltered Solopreneur, the podcast where we share real, unvarnished stories of people who dared to break free from the corporate grind. I'm your host, Nikhil, and I'm passionate about helping solopreneurs like you turn their dreams into reality. What does it really take to build a business before you turn 20? In this episode, I talk with Karel Mergl IV, a Gen Z creator with a sharp point of view, a bias for action, and zero interest in playing by the rules. We get into the pressure to prove yourself, the downside of chasing polish, and why refusing to use AI might just be his secret weapon. If you're craving unfiltered ambition and a reminder that originality still matters, this one's for you. Enjoy, and I will see you on the other side. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I'm Nikhil Vaish, your host, founder, and CEO of Boost Solo. My guest today is an entrepreneur who turned his high school video editing class into a thriving business, launching it from his dorm room. Originally from the Czech Republic, he's built a content creation company that spans YouTube shorts, podcast production, and client video work, all while maintaining his studies. Karel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nikhil, for having me. Yeah, like he said, my name is Karel Mergl IV, and I'm the owner of Global Productions, and I'm really glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited for our conversation. I haven't had, you're the youngest entrepreneur I think it'd be fair to say that we've had on this show. So I'm excited to learn about your journey. Now, so I like to dive right in. So let me start by asking you. Now, you mentioned to me that you started your editing journey by helping your father, but at some point you sort of made the leap into turning it into your own business, right? So could you walk us through sort of the moment when you realized that this could be more than just fun or something that I do for my dad, and I could maybe turn this into a real business?
Yeah, so it all started in that class, like you said, and basically, my dad has told me about it before a lot. Like he said, you have to create your own YouTube channel. You've watched YouTube content for the past back then it was like 10 years or whatever. So he told me, just create it, start creating, you'll see how it is. And then I did start creating for him. Like you said, he does web design, and it was mostly just about website marketing, him talking on camera and stuff like that. It was not the best editing or whatever, at least compared to now. But but it's still I was online. I was out there on YouTube. So yeah, but then eventually it just kind of switched in. So I did it for a year, just long form, whatever, and then in 2023 in March we started doing the daily YouTube shorts, and that was we started just he started it actually for the first 20 episodes, and then he said, you know what, you'll try it out now. Because people on YouTube, they like to see young people, not older people like him. So I decided to just record my own video of how ChatGPT hallucinated on me. That was my first short. Very sloppy, monotone, just me talking with uhs and ahs. I didn't even edit those out. Barely any editing, and it still got over 500 views when his were getting 200 to 100, whatever. So, and then he was like, okay, well, that's your domain from now on. And so I started doing it daily for about a year, pretty consistent. And along the way, we already kind of promoted it. We do shorts and stuff like that, but it wasn't all the way, right? I still had, classes. I still had a part-time job back then. Then I actually had, over the summer, like last summer, I could have probably promoted it a little more, but I got lazy. And so I didn't promote it. But then at the end of summer, about end of July and August, I got 2 jobs, and then school came back, and also business networking. So I kind of put a pause on the shorts. I did once every week, or sometimes even once every 2 weeks. And then I quit. One job forced me to quit, and I quit the other job, and then I just decided, you know what, I'll just start promoting all of this, and I'll do it daily. I'll try to make myself as visible as I possibly can, and so that's how that's where I kind of started to truly fully promote what I do and work on it and all that stuff. So yeah, that was kind of my journey from just kind of hobby to full on doing it.
That's great, and that's quite a journey. And you covered lots of things there, and we'll come back and talk about some of those things. But first, I just want to say I hope your father's wrong about people not wanting to watch old people on on, on the internet, because I have no plans to dye my face, my hair, my white hair.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it is, but younger people typically like to hear more. Like if it's an opinion, let's say like a good story, of course they're gonna hear out an older person. But if it's like if it's relatable, it has to be relatable, like that sort of thing. So that's why I started doing them, and they were just doing better than his. So
Yeah,
that's how you kind of know.
I'm not surprised, and maybe I'll have you on the show back again if this episode does better than the ones I've been recording so far. So you mentioned that you're passionate about perfect video production that makes an impact. Can you share a story about a particular project that you're really proud of and why it stands out to you?
Oh, that'll be actually pretty recent. So I'll say that I am very I don't know. I like to be creative with my work and what I do, and it's just that's what I'm passionate about. And a work that I did recently was my long form, and the story behind it is um, I did not do a long form video in 2 years, about almost to the day today, and I basically this new long form was of my dad, like my dad's live stream, and it was just an edit of him. He was doing like he was redoing a podcast banner, like an episode banner or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of cut it up and edited it up, and just the bare bones stuff, and it was basically like a how to almost, but it was made into like a more of a joke-ish kind of thing, although the point was still the same, the creativeness and the graphic design. So I would say that's like my most recent proud moment, because I was like, I finally did a long form, and I'm trying to get back into the art of the long form, because up until now it was just shorts. But you need to have a good mix of everything, not just shorts or not just long form. It kind of has to be all of it.
Yeah. And so was your dad surprised by what he got back from what he sent you?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I just downloaded the stream because he broadcasted it on my channel, and so I just downloaded the stream, and he was like, "Yeah," he said, "Yeah, just good job." That's what he said, and he was also one of telling me for the past 2 years to create a long form, so it was also like he was like, "Hey, do a long form because it's also key to YouTube." So I did, and he was happy about that too. So.
That's great. And it sounds like if I heard you correctly, those are different muscles you need to develop in terms of short form editing. And like, it's not just you're an editor and you can do both really well.
It is, yeah. I mean, it is a little different sort of editing. First of all, because you have to use separate effects, since shorts are this, and then long form's typically this. So so there are a little different ways to do things, and you have to get used to different dimensions and stuff like that. But otherwise, like the timeline is still the same, obviously, but it's not like it is the editing style is the same, right?
Right. Sure.
And typically the long form, short form is typically more burst information, like just crammed information into less than 30 seconds, at least for me, typically. And I try to cram it in. It has to be fast paced. It has to be everything. And with long form, you have a little more liberty in that, although it has to still be long, still kind of short, in the sense that the sentences have to be short. You have to still keep it fast paced to keep the viewer engaged, right? But yeah, the shorts are way way faster in that regard.
And probably harder, right? Because you got to pack in a lot more impact value information into a much shorter amount of time than, like you said, you have a little more room to play with in long form.
Yeah, although it is for me, because I got used to short form for the past, like I said, about 2 years. So now I'm used to, I was used to short form more than long form. So it was actually, it took me longer to make the long form than it would take me to make the short. So yeah.
Now I'm having a little bit of edit anxiety, because I feel like you're going to check out the edits that we end up with for this podcast and give me feedback.
It's fine.
It struck me.
it is what it is. Everybody has their own style, and I can respect it. And if I can help it, if I can, I'll be like, hey, hire me.
Well, I have an awesome editor, so
Yeah.
we'll talk. So I want to talk a little bit about juggling, right? You mentioned you're doing lots of different things. You also, I didn't know about the summer jobs, which you've now said you've sort of given up, but you have your weekly reflections, you do the YouTube shorts, you do work for your dad, you do client work also, which you've just recently taken on. And you're in school, so you've got your studies and your weekly schedule to deal with. So how do you structure your time to stay on top of all this? And also tell me, has there ever been a time when everything sort of clashed, either in a funny way or in a way that made you rethink how you sort of manage your time and energy?
Yeah. I lots of times. That's the thing. Not sure which one to talk about, but typically it's I would say though that when I was working the two jobs in the school and the business network and all that, I would say that was harder, a
Yeah.
little bit harder, because here I can just sit here on my computer and do the work and just engage with people on LinkedIn, send messages out, sell whatever comes to mind, right? But at work you have to move, you have to actually do stuff manually and stuff like that. So, and for I did what was it? I had Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I worked each of those days. I worked 13 hours when it was peak. So
Wow.
yeah, so when it was peak, it was 13 hours a day like that, and it was one after the other. So I just worked 8 hours at one, then 5 hours at the other, and so that was, I would say, more exhausting. And I remember I used to be really just tired every time. Obviously when I came back, so it was just a revolving cycle. It was the same thing, but then I got out of it, and now I'm doing sales and trying to push it out there, make myself more visible, and it is a little more liberal, because it feels liberating, because you don't have the strict time schedules, right? You can do something for here for this amount of time, and then for example, I'll engage on LinkedIn for 2 hours, and I'll write a post or something like that and make it up, get a photo, and then you can make a short or something, and it can be broken up like this. Then you do schoolwork for the rest. I typically do schoolwork at either before the class is due or it's at night. So that's when I do my schoolwork, and then otherwise I typically meet with people, go to networking groups, and over during the day I also do my live streams, except for my except for beer-a-thons, which I do with my dad every Friday, and it's like a night thing. So sad that's how it is, but not too much. It used to be way more conflicting when I had work and stuff like that, because I just didn't have at all like free time outside of school, basically.
Yeah.
But now it is more free time, so it is a little, like I say, it's a little freer.
It's funny how you say that, because it's like you had 8 things before, now you have 6 things. And you're like,
Yeah.
I'm a lot freer now because 2 things are off my plate. But I understand what you're saying about you had to physically be at a location, which obviously sucks up more time. Than you have a little more flexibility from that perspective, but you still have that many hours in a day, right? So you still have to sort of structure it. So let me ask you now, what's been the biggest challenge of trying to build a business while still being a student?
I mean, yeah, like you said, there is, it's a little more free, but still you have to do it consistently. You have to be on there. I also do, it's just a lot of schoolwork, especially this semester. I just wish I started it a little bit earlier. This this trying to make myself more visible and everything, because it used to be during times when I just didn't have, like right now, for example, I have during the semester I'm supposed to read for the class that I have like a total of 8 books, along with other supplemental readings, along with making papers and stuff like that. So that is definitely a challenge when you're trying to actually work, and then you realize, oh shucks, I still have to do that paper, whatever. So that's one of those challenges. I wouldn't put like a 1, 2, 3 on them, because when they occur, it's typically just it's either this, that, or this, right?
Right.
So it's typically not like one's harder than the other, but it's on the same level, I would say.
Okay. And what was the most intimidating part of launching your own business for you, and how did you sort of overcome that?
Intimidating part for me was talking with people. I would say when before I started making myself visible, I did go to that business group, to the business networking group. But the thing is, it was just hard for me, and my dad had to get me into it. Like he said, just you have to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
You can't just sit on your butt. And so I did, and that's where I kind of started talking with people a little more. Because up until then, I wasn't talking to people that much. I was just, when I was making my short, you're talking to a phone. You're not talking to actually people, maybe in the comments, but that's not the same as face to face. But then I started like doing one-on-one meetings outside of the business networking. And then I just started doing casual chats. But that was after that kind of, after I got my first client, because before that, I kind of also had this sort of imposter syndrome where it would be, I would have work, I would do a video, I would put it out there on YouTube. It would get like even 2,000 views, let's say, but I was just, for whatever reason, I was just not happy with it. I showed it to my friends, who would say, "Oh yeah, that's a good video, right?" And everything, even close friends, family, whatever. I didn't believe it. I truly didn't believe that. I thought it was saying it to make me feel better. But then in mid-November, I got my first client, and it was just like, once I got done with his work, he said, "Oh yeah, this work is actually like good. I appreciate you doing this." He wrote me a good testimonial, and I was like, "Oh wow, so there is somebody out there who actually likes my work." And so I decided, you know what? If there is one, then there have to be other, right? There's 8 billion people in the world. so then I just started just going all out, basically, and posting on LinkedIn, being on LinkedIn, engaging with people, doing these casual chats outside of LinkedIn to get to know people more on a more personal level. And if not, and it was casual chats, right? So it's not selling. You're just there to get to know the other person better. It's not it's nothing more than that, like a virtual coffee. So then, and that's where I kind of trained myself to how to talk to people. And, I still don't have a structure for the casual chats. It's just, where leads us, like short introduction of our businesses, and then you just go straight into a talk. And for me, it's also good because, since I'm young, and I have not met yet a person who was less than 6 years older than me. I think I met like a guy who was 25. He was the youngest one, and the oldest was like just recently 77. And
wow.
Yeah, so typically it's just everything in between, but it's on the older side, mostly like 40, 35, 40 plus and stuff like that. So that's who I meet with typically, and they have a lot of anecdotes and stories and skills that they can share with me. So that's what if not for the money, at least for that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I love how you did that. And also that's how we met, right? You asked me for a casual virtual coffee chat. And we ended up here. So I think that's a great way to do it. And also I love how at your age, 35 looks really old, right? Which I totally get. I mean, it did to me too. Now it looks young to me. I'm on the other side of that fence. But actually, I was going to touch on imposter syndrome, but and also honestly, I'll tell you that something that it's not to do with age. I think it just has to do with doing something new. Every time you do something new, you will face imposter syndrome. I've gone through it launching this company. So, the thing is, it's not that you won't have it. It's that you've just got to push through like you did. So I think that's awesome that you did that. Now, I want to spend a few minutes talking about your brand, right? Because obviously that's kind of what my passion is. So when you're a young entrepreneur, and you sort of maybe touched on this a little bit, but you're a young entrepreneur. Now, have you struggled to convince older people who are more experienced, like potential clients, that they can trust you? So have you ever had to prove yourself to a skeptical client, and how did you handle that?
My only client so far has been that guy,
The
and
person.
he was younger. He was
Okay.
like 27, so it was easier, and it's more relatable. I have not yet. I don't think I've talked with other people trying to sell, like with older folks and everything, but it was I don't know. Typically, I don't know if they were skeptical. They were just especially when I used to be a door-to-door salesman. I used to go to like restaurants around here and actually like, hey, I do this and whatever. and those were a lot of them were older folks,
Sure.
and they had their own ways already of doing marketing and stuff like that. It was just hard to convince in that sense. It was not like, I don't think it was because I'm young. Maybe for me, because I was like, just didn't have as much experience in the field, right? And I knew all the statistics. Obviously, I knew it was better, but how do you convince somebody who's saying to you like, oh yeah, I have word of mouth, I have billboard ads, I have leaflets, I have yellow page advertisements, even. So how do you convince that in a town, by the way, that is like 200,000 people, and when classes are in session because there's two colleges, actually three of them, and one is big because it's Illinois State University, and it has when classes are in session, it's typically like a quarter of the whole town's population are college students. So it's or 20 to 25% or something like that. But yeah, so you just kind of have to tailor it to them. It's not going to work always, but I did have one lady that I talked with before who was basically almost ready to buy. I just didn't follow up with her after that for some reason, I don't know. And then she actually ended up paying an advertisement in the radio. So yeah, oh well. But still, yeah.
So the door-to-door sales you were doing was for videos or for something else?
It was mostly so not only that, it was just like selling all the digital marketing stuff, because me and I do videos and my dad does websites and stuff like that. So we kind of like combined.
Oh, got it. Okay.
It was a full like
package,
basically. Yeah. And so that's what I was kind of offering here and there, and didn't I guess if I did it in more volume, not more, I was focused on more quality and stuff like that, because I'm also kind of a perfectionist, but it is what it is. It did not really end up going anywhere, but I'm just fortunate because then my dad said, me and my dad figured out, like, you know what, let's just sell you, referring to me. So it would be easier to sell a younger person, for example, on LinkedIn, where everybody's older, and they're probably a lot of older people are curious about how a 19-year-old views business and things. So yeah.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to digital, right? I think you have an advantage there because as like anyone from 30 to 80 now who's in business will probably lean towards someone younger in terms of getting tips for what works, what doesn't work. But also, I think what I liked about what you just said too is you also learn some lessons there, right? Because door-to-door sales is really hard. I think it's a lot harder than what you're doing now because it's like face-to-face, right? And it's harder to sell some of those things to, especially to older people who are, not maybe a little more skeptical or less knowledgeable about digital. So I think probably some good lessons there. So now in this space, though, let me ask you maybe a slightly different way. How do you differentiate yourself from other video editing services? And like you said, there are a lot of companies out there who are offering, video editing, and they're more established professionals too. So how are you trying to do that?
So my whole thing is just I build myself. I build my brand. I started building it, in November, and it was just about being a 19-year-old professional on LinkedIn, and not a lot of these. There are professional companies on LinkedIn that do video, but not a lot of them do have 19-year-olds with, let's say, 4 years of video production experience.
True.
And not a lot. If these companies do, and they're younger companies, they're not going to be on LinkedIn because they are young, right?
Yeah.
They might be, but they're probably not going to be active, because I know I have experience on LinkedIn. I know that there aren't that many of my peers on there, not even like companies, not anything. So I would say that alone, kind of being on LinkedIn and being promoted my services on LinkedIn, that alone kind of differentiates me from some other video producers. Like, I've met video producers on LinkedIn, but they were all older. They were like, from 30 to 60 years old. And yeah, so I'm like the youngest, and I'm probably the only Gen Z video producer that I know. Right. So that's, and I have also a kind of a sort of different editing style when it comes to my own videos. Like, unless a client wants specific stuff for their stuff, I'll always make it kind of a more jokey kind of like memes, right? Typically. So people right now, like younger people who are the majority of consumers on online, will appreciate that more. And so I think even for if I became like an employee or something, uh, I would bring that kind of value to the company, saying, I do my videos this way, and that helps it relate more to a younger audience, basically.
Yeah, no, I see that totally. Like when I was thinking about this, I was like, because typically people lean towards experience and that's what they want, right? But in this case, I think you have a strong case to make that youth actually has more value because the skill you can build, but being
Mhm.
in touch with popular culture and closer to that age group, you bring something I think that older, more experienced people don't necessarily, who may have the editing skills, may not necessarily have what you just described in terms of the inside jokes and the small things that are popular now that you can bring, right?
Because not a lot of people, I know that a lot of people, when they say, oh, how would you differentiate from your competition, they start
Yeah.
listing off a whole list of things. Oh, we do this differently, we have this professional, we have this perfect and everything, and statistics and everything. I'll give you one statistic that I think matters to me the most. I have from 2023, basically, let's put it, in 2 years, I did 500,000 eyes on my content, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm proud of, and that's the only thing that matters to me, how many eyes can get on your content, right? Because that's all about the visibility, and after that, it's only going to grow, right? So that's what matters to me, like being young. It doesn't even if you have an original perspective, it doesn't even need to be the experience, because you're going to get the experience, like you said. You're going to get the experience, but you can't train talent, and you cannot train this sort of uh, deep connection. I mean deep connection because of, like I said, I've been watching videos ever since I was 7 on YouTube videos. So you can't really train this. It also takes time with being in rhythm with popular culture. And, so.
Yeah, and you also can't make yourself younger no matter what you do, right? So that's an
Yeah.
advantage you have inherently. So let me ask you about AI though. There are a lot of AI video editing tools now. Even Riverside, what I'm on right now, generates like shorts, which I'm sure I'll get your feedback on. But how do you see yourself competing with that? How do you differentiate yourself from these tools out there now, which are becoming easier to use and probably better in terms of providing output?
Well, that might become another point of my originality that will separate me from my competition.
Yeah,
This is what creates videos,
right.
not typing on a keyboard what I want
and
in a video
and
or
this,
whatever.
right, you
And
think
that too,
through.
yes.
Yeah.
The talent, the
Yeah.
creativity with it and everything, because some things will never be done by AI. Like, you can have as many avatars as you'd like, but some moments, some jokes, some of this, and it will never be replicated by AI, basically. And so also, I mean, I looked at these AI shorts and stuff like that, and they're pretty much follow all the same template, like maybe some cuts in, cuts out, and then you have highlighted subtitles that go on there. That's how you typically know that it's an AI generated video. But I don't have I don't know. I don't use it myself. I mean, yeah, obviously, like I said, I use my hands, and so I don't use these tools. But if it were, for example, like, I use Adobe Premiere Pro for my editing, and I'm sure you're familiar with Clippy, uh, right,
Yeah.
from how it used to be in Microsoft Word. So I would like to have that for Adobe. Maybe, like, for example, I have an animation somewhere, some keyframes, whatever, and it would tell me, like, hey, if you remove these two keyframes, the transition would be smoother, or the animation would be smoother. So that's what I would kind of appreciate in Adobe. And if they do that, I would probably use it, but I would never. I would always record my own content, if whatever, edit it, but I would just only use AI as a helper, because I don't think AI should be used just for creation, right? So yeah, it's the same with just text generation, right? You should always kind of have that original thought in your head, and then align what you want to say, what you want the AI to say, and then edit it up and check it out, of course, because it can hallucinate. But yeah, so AI video editing generating tools, they're gonna exist, but I don't think they're gonna be. They might get as perfect as you can get them. Like, you'll prompt it some really, really specific thing and it will do it. But in my opinion, I don't know. I still probably won't use it. I'll just keep myself original. keep my content original, and just be just do the same thing AI free, because like I said, it'll probably become the point of originality eventually.
I love that, and I'm like, literally like amen to that, and I hope you see that thought in your generation, because I completely agree with you. AI is going to become very generic. It's already, I can tell, like I use it for for posts and stuff, but I can see posts that have been written by AI now because it feels so templated. Everyone says the same thing or they're very similar, and I think the human advantage is going to become a bigger differentiator, right? The human touch. It's not to say
Right.
we're going to throw out these tools, but like you said, you'll use it to make what you've made better with tips and hints and, helping you improve it, not helping it make it for you. So I really love that. Um,
Definitely.
yeah. And so let me ask you, so what's one thing you wish you had known about branding or personal branding before you launched your own business?
Hmm. Um, I'm not going to call myself perfect, but I'll say this. I'll say that I've had an awesome mentor who's my dad, and he's helped me with basically everything from start to finish so far. Not finished, but start just going through everything. And he's created even like graphic designs for me. He created my banner for LinkedIn. He created the background for my profile photo. He creates a lot of he knows how to create stuff. He's really creative in this sense, and he knows graphic design.
Yeah.
And he's also had a lot of good businesses back in the day, so he knows how to run a successful business. So he's given me a heck ton of tips. But I'm not sure. Maybe I'm trying to think of at least one, because so far the journey has been pretty good, pretty smooth. I got a good start. I just need to keep going, right? And if something happens, I'll definitely remember that mistake. But I'm not sure if anything else happened yet, because most of the stuff that like my mistakes and everything came from me, and it was not because of I wasn't heeding the advice of my dad. Basically, like for example, the long form, right?
Right.
So and he's just right in pretty much like 99% of the uh debates slash arguments we might have about anything. So I just kind of now recently learned to listen to him, to listen to his advice and to heed his advice and everything. Like he told me, like you have to meet people, you have to do this, you have to be out there on LinkedIn, you have to post. And if I listened to that 2 years ago when he started telling me these things, I would be in a way different place right now. I would probably have a lot of followers on LinkedIn, and if I kept doing YouTube the way I was, I would probably have maybe even 5,000 followers. Who knows? Like, of course, hindsight is always 2020. But the thing is, it's regardless of that, it's how to put it. There was still my mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And I went
Yeah.
up to them, and that's also, by the way, that's also another point of originality in my storytelling, is I can use my mistakes and post about them and tell people about them. And I learned that in a recent workshop with a guy named Mike McMillan. He had a storytelling workshop, and he said how to differentiate yourself story wise from your competition is you talk about your mistakes and the misconceptions you might have had or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I talk about that in my LinkedIn posts. Like, yeah, I didn't listen to my dad about a lot of stuff, and I admit to that. So I'll just I'll put it out there and fix it and work towards what he says now, right? But it's not like I'm working in the image of my dad, right?
Sure.
Or what
You're
he
your
like.
own
So,
person. Yeah.
yeah, basically. But it's like I put it in my way, but it's what from his rooting in his tips, right?
Yeah.
And tricks.
Well, I mean, and it's, well, kudos to you for realizing that. You did a lot earlier than most people do, I can tell you. And it's what you're talking about really is lived experience, right? That's where your dad's perspective comes from. He's been there, done that a lot more than, I could say the same thing. It's like, but most people don't heed that advice. So, it's refreshing to hear that you're owning up to things that we all mess up. We're all human. We're always going to do that, right? But we don't always own
Yeah.
up. So I think that's really good especially on a solopreneur journey.
And
So
I was never. Oh, sorry. I was
yeah,
never like. Just wanted to add into it. I was never. I just remember like when I talked about this before, I was always afraid to mention him pretty much because my brain would just not let me, like, you can't admit or whatever. But now I realized that's actually what differentiates you, along with, well, my age at least, and stuff like that. So all of that in combination should lead to a good mix, and promoted well, it will grow fast.
Yeah, and you're absolutely on the right show to do that, right? I mean, that's why it's Unfiltered Solopreneur, right? Because one of the biggest reasons I launched this show was to show people that there are two sides to this coin. It's incredibly gratifying. It's a wonderful journey, but there are also difficulties and there are mistakes you will make along the way. And I feel like society doesn't share any of that anymore, right? Everything is cosmetic. Everything is very
Everything's
choicefully
perfect.
shared.
It's perfect, just perfect.
People only share what they want you to see, not what really happens. So I'm really glad that you think differently, and I hope most of your generation will too. So now let me ask you, we talked about lessons, you talked about sort of owning up to your mistakes, but obviously building a business full time as a student means there will be lots of surprises. We've touched on some of them, but I want to know what your biggest unexpected lesson has been, not about your business, but about yourself.
One, I forgot when this was, a couple of days ago. I was awake until like 6 a.m. working. And that was for the first time after I woke up at 9:30, I think, because I had to go to class. But I did wake up, and typically when I did not, when I was lazy back then, and I did not promote my business and all of that, I would not wake up. I would be like, okay, I'll have my alarm set up. I would wake up in that sense, but I would not stand up. I would just snooze it and possibly even miss the class because I just slept through it. And but this time, after going to bed at 6 and having to wake up, with only like 3.5 hours of sleep, I woke up automatically because it was just like, not automatically, but with an alarm. But I had a sense of purpose finally, for once. So my body just said, get up, because you have a lot to you have a lot to you have a lot of work in the day. So it was one of my busier days. It was no, it's actually, it was stupid. No, it was yesterday, actually, I think. Yeah, it was yesterday, and I had a lot of work that day. I still needed to finish up a paper. I had 3 classes, one of them being like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I had to do a lot of reading for that, a written response. And then also I had at midnight, I was recording with another guy, with that 78-year-old. He's an Australian. He's living in the Philippines, and we recorded a podcast together where I was introducing myself and everything I do. So at midnight, at my time, midnight. So then after that, I finally went to bed. But yeah, like I said, a lot of work that day, and so my body kind of knew, and I had that mindset of having a purpose finally. And so I woke up and just basically, I didn't even take a nap. I just kind of ran through the day, and I finally collapsed later.
So if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that in the past, if you overdid one area, then you would sort of it's okay to skip the other. Like if you work too hard, you'd skip class. But now you sort of adjusted to say these are equal priorities, and you sort of have to power through.
Yeah, but it was more like from that sense of purpose sort of thing, because I was not focused on promoting my business. I'll say I was afraid of that, and I'll admit that I was just afraid of being on there and talking with people and that stuff. So there was no real purpose. Sure, I had like a part-time job or 2 of them or whatever, but it was that was the only thing, because that was my kind of safe space, right? So it was my comfort zone, and that's where I wanted to stay, and that's where I thought I was going to stay until circumstances changed. Right? Life happened, and so you need to adapt. You need to change. So that's where I changed. So then I gained that sense of purpose for my business, because that sense of purpose before was for the part-time jobs, and every time, even when I would be awake. Also, like last semester, I was awake again till like 6 a.m. and I was actually drinking that night as well. And still, I woke up 3 hours later to go work for 8 hours, right? And I did that, but that was that sense of purpose for this. For the classes, it was typically not that much, and especially when it came to just business work, I would also oversleep. It would never be like that. So only for my comfort zone, only for the job that I had, I would sacrifice and do that stuff, but not for my business, not too much for classes and stuff like that. So that's that was my realization about sense of purpose and how I gained it for what I do now, video editing in my business.
That's fantastic. I love that. So now talking about purpose, we also want to talk about success. So you've had a video that hit, I think, 500,000 views. You said, right?
No, it was
400K views.
No, it was 66,000.
66,000. Okay.
That was that was my most viewed.
Okay, so you had a video that had 66,000 views. That's still a lot of views. So if you had to break it down, what would you say was what's the one biggest factor that makes a video take off in your mind or in your experience?
There is that's a good question, but I wouldn't say it's only one factor, because there's always more factors to a video. There has to be, I broke it down in a structure. There has to be a really good intro sentence, a good hook, because you have like 5 seconds to grab a user's attention. And I think if they for short, if user slides away before I think it's 3 seconds. 3 seconds have elapsed. It's not even counted as a view. It's just an impression, basically. But so you need to have that, and then also just, I don't know. You have to be energetic throughout. You have to not be monotone. You can't be like, this is just what happened, and and you can't be like this either. You can be, and then this one, you kind of have to be. You have to be changing. The tone has to kind of be, alternating. You have to be one scene, or I typically break it down into 3 to 5 second bursts, like a sentence or a couple words, and you start off high, you end off low, and then the other one you again start off low, then go high, or in the middle is like, and then TikTok got banned, and that's crazy, and then you level it off again, like, right? So that sort of thing. So tone is also important, and I want to say leaving a couple jokes here and there, maybe like even one, wherever, that'll definitely add the value to it. But storytelling, just like in business, I think in video it's really important to tell a story. It has to be structured. It can't be like, you start at the start and then tell about the end, because then like, that's what happened, right? So you kind of build it up, tell some interesting facts about it, what you think people will probably look for in the video, and what they'll expect, and what might be the shock value to it, and you just build a narrative based on that. And I typically, in my videos at least, I take it from news articles, and then I just do just a recent one, like DeepSeek stole OpenAI data, right? And it's a headline. So I use that for the thumbnail typically, and then I add captions, and you have these different sound effects, or even I sometimes use, like what you call it, like movie clips, for example, or the external video clips and stuff like that, of course. But just make sure you don't use it and then promote what you do for money or something like that, because that can be taken as you're taking that clip, and it has to be fair use. So don't forget about that. But regardless, because I typically just lay my opinion on something or analysis of whatever, so that's always fair use, and you can use pretty much anything for that. And what else would I say? Important metrics to keep in mind when looking at statistics and analytics is the view percentage, how many users swiped away, how many viewed, and also the actual view rate, like how long did they view, the duration, the average duration. Right. Yeah, so I like to keep mine, that 50%, or typically about 50% that don't swipe away, like they view, is good. And the higher is obviously better, but it also has to be paired with a good, actually, like people actually want to finish the video and everything. And that was for that 66,000 66,000 view video. Those two were really high, and of course, once they're really high, and then that's where the storytelling comes in. That's where the jokes come in, because you need to also increase your engagement. And right. Once that engagement goes, the likes, the comments, even dislikes. Don't worry about dislikes, because YouTube used to take those as a mitigating factor, but now YouTube, since they removed the dislike button, basically, or it's still there obviously, but they take it as a reaction. It's a you stir engagement. The pot a little bit. Right. Yeah, you stir the pot a little bit, and that's all that matters for them. They're only looking at the ad revenue at the end of the day. So just get it out there.
That's great advice. I love that, because most people talk about the hook, but you've sort of broken it down into the fact that that's not enough. That's just the starting point. You still have to carry it through to the end. And also, I agree in terms of, like, I always say that if you try to appeal to everyone, you'll appeal to no one. So you will if you have a point of view, you will always piss some
Take
people
an
off.
opinion. Take an opinion. Yes,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, and that's another thing. Thank you for reminding me. Sorry for interrupting you if
No,
I
that's
did.
okay.
Yeah, but if you put a topic as a news thing, people have news at home. They don't care about that. They want to see your opinion, how you stand on that. I especially in that sense, I love to make videos about Elon Musk. And it wasn't even political. I don't make political videos. It was just like about technology, about how he's running X or whatever. And it would, I'm not I would say I'm a Musk fan, but I'm
Fanboy.
not also not, I'm not also a hater, right?
Yeah.
When he does something good, I'll appreciate it. When he does something bad, I'll hate it. But always, and typically, even either way, there's always like dislikes, no matter which side you take. So don't be afraid to take a side. You have to always take an opinion, otherwise it loses all its value. So that, along with storytelling, are the two most important things: take an opinion and storytelling.
No.
And then usually the rest comes somewhat naturally. You have to train it out, but yeah, those are the two basics.
That's great advice. And I think for all the solopreneurs listening, they're definitely valuable. So let me fast forward 5 years from now. What's your dream? What's your idea of success, and where do you want to be beyond graduating college?
I mean, 5 years, I haven't thought about that long in the future. It is tough for me right now because I'm looking for till the end of the semester. I'm trying to
Sure.
give myself, I got to be
Get to
fast.
the
But
weekend. Yeah.
yeah, definitely, you gotta. Bills won't pay themselves. So, but if I were to take it 5 years from now, I mean, hey, couple $1 million sitting in Hawaii with a nice girl or something, and that'll be my most perfect story. But not right now. I mean, obviously, like I'll say, my 6 month plan that I figured out kind of in January would be, my goal is between 10 to 20,000 LinkedIn views. No, not views, followers.
Followers.
Hopefully, because I would just base it off of me being 19 and people wanted to come to me and everything for to see my perspective, and that's what my posts have been about. And they've actually been getting a lot of traction compared to my carousels about videos, just generic stuff. My personal experiences just always have higher engagement numbers. But yeah, so that on LinkedIn and YouTube, about like in 6 months, I want to start, just ramping up the content creation and putting my videos out there. Hopefully, having within 6 months from now, I would say over 5,000 and over subscribers, and I'll just start. I'll have to ramp that up fast and revitalize my channel, because it's been unfortunately on the decline, because I just don't have that much. Didn't have that much time
Sure.
up until now, pretty much, along with engagement with people, schoolwork, reading, and all that stuff. So those would be my goals for the next 6 months at least. And then once I got that figured out, and once I got clients, of course, that's another goal, obviously. Not sure how many, just as many as it takes to pay off whatever I have to pay off. And then after that, if it becomes too much work, I already have some other people who edit videos that I told, like, hey, if I need somebody to edit some of my videos, like basically scaling, I'll pay you, for example, like $25 an hour or something like that, right? So that's I've already been thinking about that. But first things first, gotta get established, gotta get some clients, gotta get the numbers moving, and after that, I can start making longer term plans.
And get through the semester. I like that. Yeah. And so you gained a follower here tonight. So just so you know.
Thanks.
Yeah. So let me ask you now, if you could offer one piece of advice to somebody in your shoes who's watching this and saying, I want to launch a business out of my dorm room, what would you say to them?
Stop sleeping and go to LinkedIn. Yeah, I
Go to
mean,
LinkedIn, you said, not go clubbing?
I mean, hey, it is up to you. But typically, people who go clubbing and stuff like that instead of working, they're typically set, either already like doing work, or from their parents or whatever who are
Yeah,
paying for
sure.
everything. But it's rare that a college student nowadays would be studying, doing business, and all of that stuff together in combination. Everybody's just sleeping all the time. Unfortunately,
Really? Oh, no.
studying, eating, sleeping, possibly athletics, but that's the main four or three. That fourth one's optional. Tenets of modern college life, and then of course clubbing. But yeah, even that has been on the decline, surprisingly enough.
Wow. And
Yeah,
sleeping through the alarm, presumably, then, right?
sleeping through not only one but typically 4 or 5
Five
alarms.
snoozes. You're not making me feel optimistic about the future generation, Karel. Let me tell you.
I just believe, I hope it's going to get better, and that colleges will start promoting this education soon, because typically, or in high school even, people
Yeah.
start learning these life skills in high school. Instead of like some BS that you learn, you can squeeze in 30 minutes a day of LinkedIn, like how to be on LinkedIn or whatever, like engaging. You could do that. Like, of course, they don't want to give promotion to LinkedIn. I get that, but you have to teach, like, or maybe on their own time, not even in high school, in school, but do it on your own time. Be on LinkedIn, grow it as young as you can, because that's what's gonna get you out there. That's what's gonna differentiate you for those seeking employment, for example, which is a lot of people, which is the majority of people. That's what's going to differentiate you from other applicants who are not on LinkedIn, for example, who haven't built up that presence and stuff like that. Because guess where the recruiters and stuff like that go? They go on LinkedIn. They go out and check out your LinkedIn profile. Have you been on there? Have you been working for it? Have you been making yourself more visible? They'll check out your posts and everything. So that's I would say that, yeah. Stop sleeping and napping. Start investing 30 minutes or an hour a day into LinkedIn studies.
Yeah, and that's great. And honestly, you could even do that at a club, right? On your phone, you could be posting stuff. So if you,
or talk to people, get to know each other.
yes,
Hey, like, what do you do? Okay, yeah. Or what
right.
do your parents do? And I do this. I can help your business. I can help your parents' business, whatever. Just talk, because you never know what's going to come off of a random conversation. So
True.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I had that recently. Like, I was when I was flying back from Raleigh to Bloomington, I was on a plane, and I was talking with this older lady, and she was she told me, okay, she was I'm trying to think through this. I think she was born in like the 1940s, so she's old, but she has a lot of experience and everything. And she gave me some tips. Even, like, she said, basically, like, I asked her, like, hey, what was your first time on a plane? And she was like, oh yeah, that's when I was 13. I went on a plane, and it was like in the 50s. And her grandma took her, who was born in like the 1870s, which is just
Wow.
crazy that somebody who was closely related to somebody from the 1870s. But yeah, she also said, like, today's younger generation, just her granddaughter and daughter come over for dinner, and she said, yeah, they're just scrolling on LinkedIn, but not on LinkedIn, on
Yeah.
wherever they are,
Not on
social
LinkedIn.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically not on LinkedIn. Typically it's the less productive. But
TikTok,
if,
probably.
yeah, for example, yeah, or Instagram, whatever it might be. So kind of that lesson from that, if you are online, which most definitely you are, if you're young, don't only be on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, and be just a consumer, right?
Yeah.
Get out there, start creating your own content, and build your own brand. You have to find your originalities about you, and just get out there, promote yourself, engage with people on LinkedIn, get as many connections as you can, engage in social Saturdays. That's what's going to grow your numbers the most, probably, if you're starting off early, right? So that's that. I would say that's the most important thing, to start off early.
Very wise words. I can't top that. So, and it's a great way to get to our rapid fire round. So I'm just going to throw a couple of questions at you and tell me whatever comes to mind, right? So, what's your go-to editing snack or drink during long projects?
It's not typically designated, but I would say, I'll actually show it. I'll give a promotion. Actually, I can't give a promotion because it's over there, but it's pretzel sticks. Okay, I do
Okay.
have these certain brands of pretzel sticks, and it's if it's a Friday night and I'm editing, it's gonna be a little bit of A little bit of whiskey. That would be my drink, or if it's not a Friday night, it's either just water or an energy drink.
Oh, that's quite a range, but okay, good. If you could collaborate with any YouTuber or creator, who would it be and why?
Collaborate.
Yeah.
Good question. Really good question. Who's the biggest out there?
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast. Okay, I'll collaborate with him. Let's do that, because I'll be out there. I'll have my brand out there. I'll have my name out there. It'll get millions of clicks on my name. Literally millions. People will search up my name everywhere, and typically it's not going to be. It's going to be like kids or whatever. But even if just 1% out of 1 million clicks on the link and wants something, it's 1,000 people, right? Automatically, just like that. Boom. You already have leads, clients, 1,000 leads just from one appearance and just from those clicks. So I would say that would be the most optimal. Actually, 1% from 1 million is 10,000. Just that math. Not really strong math wise.
That's okay. We have creativity. I'm with you on that. And if Mr. Beast is watching this, Jimmy Donaldson, I believe his name is, right? Then maybe he'll give you a call.
Have me.
If you had, go ahead.
No, you got. I was just like, joking.
Okay. If you had an unlimited budget for a dream project, what would it be?
Unlimited budget. Wow. Who? I would probably. I'll break away a little bit and say, because I haven't said this yet, I'm a major in history. I love history, just at large, but typically it's more antiquity history, especially pertaining to Rome. Mm-hmm. I would say creating like a huge engaging sort of like a series or movie, or like something like that, about just diving deep into ancient Rome and just making it fun. And that would probably be my biggest goal. Make it really cast the best actors out there, and just make it really, really popular, like the best series of all time, or movie.
I love that. I'm a history buff too, and for a second I thought you were going to say you're going to build a time machine, and I was like, count me in.
Yeah, or that. But as pertains to video, that's what I meant.
What's your guilty pleasure YouTube channel? You said you've been watching since you were 7, right?
Not really. Well, almost guilty, not guilty, I wouldn't say. But it's a channel called Historia Civilis, and he does a lot of videos about Rome, and it's typically just like, for example, he does one scene. It's not like this is the entire thing, but it's like a map, and there's just like a red square, for example, representing Caesar or something, like moving around the map, like, oh, he's going here or whatever. And he talks about like just it's a fun way of engaging with really deep historical topics, and he does it accurately. Like, it's really historically accurate. So cool. I would say that's a channel, that my go-to channel.
Yeah, I would check that out. So if you could go viral for one video, what would it be about?
And it's going to go viral no matter the topic, right?
No matter the topic. You pick the topic. What would you want? What would you want to go viral?
There's geez, so many topics to pick from. So many. My topic about my brand right now, for example, I don't know, just me telling about my story and what I do, and this sort of like a business aspect. Because again, if it goes viral, I would get eyes on me, the visibility out there, and I would get popular from there. From that, probably some profit from that as well, because I would just be on everybody's eyes.
No, from your mouth to the viral god's ear, maybe this podcast will go viral.
Hopefully.
All right. Last one. If your editing style were a movie genre, what would it be?
A huge hybrid of like 30 different things.
Okay.
I would just say, oh yeah, my editing style is really unconventional, and I know people have this refined editing style where I know the specific editing style, which is usually reserved for like, I just saw it actually just today. He was talking about the series The Walking Dead. He was talking about that, and it was just like this, like this ominous song, and then oh yeah, what is this thing, and then thing slides up, and this is sort of the same edit that I've seen in 10 different channels. It's the same BS that I've seen. I have I would like to think, original and unconventional editing style, where I just combine all of that and smash it together. It's memes, it's jokes, it's the sound effects, it's just having fun, just with motion graphics as well sometimes. So I don't. It's not like I have a strictly one sort of editing style that I stick to. It's just many stuck together.
That's cool. So we can call it the Karel mash.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun way to end the show, Karel. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you, and keep doing what you're doing. And I look forward to seeing all the great things you accomplish.
Yeah, thank you, and I really thank you for having me on, because I've noticed this, that a lot of people are now starting podcasts and inviting people like me, for example, on there, and so I'm really grateful for that, for every opportunity, because I always both people benefit, so and I especially benefit because I'm gonna get eyes on me, so at least that's how I think about it. So yeah, thank you very much.
That was such an energizing conversation. At just the age of 19, Karel is already navigating the complex world of solopreneurship while balancing college demands. Here are my key takeaways from our conversation. Age is an asset, not a liability. Karel's age isn't a hurdle, it's a hook. His connection to pop culture and platform fluency give him an edge most seasoned pros can't fake. Solopreneurs, your age, culture, or unconventional path isn't a gap to close or a liability. It's your most marketable asset. Human creativity will outshine AI. Karel's perspective on AI was refreshing to me. He sees tools as helpers, not replacements. As he puts it, AI free might become a point of originality. This insight flips the script on today's obsession with AI. So don't race against automation. Focus on what makes your offering uniquely human. The advantage isn't in doing what AI can do faster. It's in doing what AI can't do at all. Take a stand or become invisible. I love Karel's commitment to taking a stance and crafting a narrative. In a world where everyone's trying to appeal to everyone, having a clear point of view is what actually cuts through the noise. Remember, in any crowded marketplace, playing it safe guarantees you'll be forgotten. The cure to imposter syndrome is action. Karel openly shared that he didn't believe in his own work, even when his friends and family did. Now, confidence didn't come from compliments or likes. It came from getting paid by a client. Action builds confidence, not the other way around. And validation isn't about likes or views. It's about transformation. The moment someone pays for your work and says, "This helped me," you stop wondering if you're legit and start owning your impact. Purpose fuels productivity. When Karel found a why that was bigger than comfort, everything changed for him. From how he woke up to how he showed up. As solopreneurs, our mindset is everything. Connecting with our purpose can fuel us through challenges and help us achieve goals. Thanks for listening to Unfiltered Solopreneur. If you got value from today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another solopreneur who needs this message. Until next time, keep breaking free from the corporate grind, and remember, your story is your most powerful asset. Live solo or die corporate.